So ivy, there's different kinds of ivy, but I would say that this is a pretty typical looking kind of an ivy design. So there's so many variations on just this one theme alone that you can decide whether you want to paint this to look very realistic or you want to paint it the way I just did with a brush. But in any event, you want to think in terms of having it be, you want it to be even in terms of how you're placing the vine, and you want it to be even in terms of shapes, and just think in terms of what the real plant would do, how the leaves would turn towards the sun and stay out of each other's way. So what you're after here is something that's very even. And then you can go ahead and you can add other things to the vine. Maybe it's not an ivy vine. Maybe it's some other kind of a vine where you can start to add flowers. So what you're doing is you're making something richer and richer. Now there's also one other thing that I want to point out to you, and that's a really neat thing, a really neat idea, and it's called grisaille, which is a French word meaning gray. So the first grisaille paintings were probably done in gray. And what that means is that you're doing something that starts to look sculpted, but it's really only with one color. So here's an example of a piece that I did for a calendar, and this is, I would call this grisaille because it's all one color. So it's a matter of washes. It almost begins to look like a pencil drawing. Pencil painting even. And what I've done here is I've given it a sense of shadow so that it just gets a little bit more three-dimensional. So now I've mentioned the idea of shadow, and I just want to show you, because a lot of times shadows are used with lettering. So the way I do shadows is I decide where I want my light source to be coming from. So I would imagine, let's say we imagine that the light source is coming from this direction, okay? So if the light source is coming from this direction, then everything on the other side is going to take a shadow. So let's see if I can figure this out. So this would be the shadow side.